everybody. We are starting our webinar right now. I'm just getting it all set. So let me hide some stuff. How are you? Thank you guys for being on. We had a ton of registrants. And this is all about letting fear be your map tonight. So can anybody relate, possibly, to going for new goals and being scared? I know that if I had three arms, I would have multiple arms up because it is absolutely the number one thing that stops people dead in their tracks. And I'm so excited that you guys are on tonight because we've been having these webinars and different touch points to talk to people, and it's been absolutely amazing. So if you are not signed up for the daily newsletter yet, I would love if you guys would do that. Go to busygirlhealthylife.com, sign up for the daily newsletter, because if you miss one of the webinars, we're going to send it to you. We're going to send you our weekly touch points. We're doing lots of live recipes. We're doing cooking in the kitchen. We're doing, thoughts every single week and different tools that can help you deal with things that are coming up. Because let me tell you, I am a professional at trying to figure out how to bust through the blocks because I come upon blocks every single day in my life. So it's my job to bring those tools to you and have you use them and implement them into your life. So a couple things that I want to tell you guys that are so exciting that are going on here at Busy Girl and in my life is we have a day of bliss coming up in Chicago. I don't know if you've seen it. If any of you follow me on Facebook, you will know that I have been blasting it from the rooftops about a day of bliss on May 17th, because the Bliss Project that was in Newport Beach this last January was absolutely amazing. It was life-changing. It was transformative. The women are still talking to each other. They've made friends. They've made business partners. It's been absolutely incredible what these women have done and the level that they've taken their life to. So I know quite a few of them are coming to the Day of Bliss in Chicago. I can't wait to see you. And for all of you who have friends in Chicago or anybody in that area, get them there. If you know that they want to bust through blocks or bring their life to the next level or just feel better about themselves and their life, be a better mother, be a better wife, be a better person, just feel more bliss, feel happier. That is what it's all about, is just finding your posse and really just locking arms and doing this together. So on to tonight's topic. We're going to talk about letting fear be your map. And this is a really interesting topic for me because I literally felt paralyzed by my fear for years and years and years and years. And I really want to tell you about some of the steps that I took in order to start conquering that. But first, I want you to sit and I want you to think, what it feels like when you feel fearful, when you think about getting to your goals, when you think about that big goal that you have, or you look at your vision board. Sometimes we can actually get butterflies, sometimes we can get butterflies in our stomach, just letting ourselves feel that fear and really digging into it. And sometimes fear can feel lonely, like you're the only one who's experiencing what you're experiencing. But I'm here to tell you tonight that fear is not only so normal, but fear can often be your friend. It can be your guide. It's often your red flag to tell you what you need to work on. So fear is just that. It's just a red flag that's coming up that says you either need to pay attention to this, you need to work on this, or you need to let go of it. So oftentimes fear is just telling us, hey, this is something to pay attention to, and pay attention as far as letting go of a fear is also so vital, because if we have a fear that keeps on coming up that is not real, what fear stands for, what everybody says, false evidence appearing real. We need to start learning how to release it. We need to start forgiving that fear. We need to turn to love. We need to release it. We need to go back to faith, because that's just, part of fear's job is to paralyze you. It's to say, hey, don't go there. It's to protect you. But if you don't need it to protect you, that's when we need to start recognizing it. So the problem is that everything in this world, when it comes to media, I know that you guys know, if you turn on the radio, if you turn on the news, anything, all media coverage is basically based on fear. We can't go anywhere without either having a conversation about it, feeling fearful, something based around why we should just stay safe in our little shells and not leave. So tonight I want to talk about letting fear be a tool for you instead. So if we start looking at it from a really different perspective, fear can actually start to be a good thing. Now, when I say a good thing, I mean it can be a tool for you. It can be a guide for you. So I want you guys to do a really quick exercise with me. If you've been on these webinars before, you know that you might want to have a pen and paper handy. And the more that you put into these webinars and some of these exercises, the more you're going to get out of it. So if you have a pen and paper, I'm going to give you 5 seconds here to get one. If you don't, I just want you guys to do this in your head. So I want you to write down your top 2 fears that keep you from moving towards your goals. So I'm going to have you just sit and think your top 2 fears. If you can just come up with one is totally fine too, because sometimes for some people it's just one thing that keeps on coming up over and over. So write those down, your number 1 and your number 2, or have them in your head. Just really sit and think for a minute about what comes up whenever you think about your goals. Some things, usually red flags, usually pop into your head. And, most of what is associated with fear is pretty much any of the above. We have a fear of losing our friends. We have a fear of getting pushback from our family. We have a fear of rejection. We have a fear of not knowing the how. We have a fear of being not smart enough, stupid, not feeling confident, not tall enough, not pretty enough, not fit enough, not, you name it. It goes on and on and on, all of the different things that can come up. And this all stems from fear. These all come up no matter what that is. They normally can all go back to fear of being rejected. Obviously, that's not being accepted, and fear of failure. We don't want to feel that pain. So, the thing about fear is we need to start viewing it as the perfect opportunity to step into vulnerability. So, what you're afraid of is directly attached to what you have to do. So, I always say to myself, if I feel like I can't, then I must. If I feel like I can't, then I must. So whenever things are coming up in my life and I look at a huge goal and I think to myself, I can't do that. How on earth am I ever going to do that? That's so not me. That is so scary. That's usually where I say, that's my map. If I'm really afraid of something, that's my guide. I have to do something around it. I have to confront it, or guess what my options are? I can either A, end up in a padded room, feeling scared of everything, right? I mean, sometimes if we feed into that fear, we can literally, it just grows and grows and grows and grows. And, this is funny. I used to have this conversation actually with Kirsten Erickson, who does all of the yoga at our Bliss projects. And we would talk about how we let our minds just go crazy with fear. And she would say, sometimes when I'm driving, I just picture like the power lines like coming down and snapping and electrocuting my car. And I was like, holy cow, we're crazy. Like, you need to literally reel that in and get a grip, because everything could go wrong if we lived that way. I mean, it's funny, we laughed about it, but if you think about it, I mean, you can start being afraid of everything, and we just can't live in fear's grip. So whatever is making you feel that way, number 1, you're going to want to release it. You're going to want to get it out of your life. So if television is making you feel that way, if your mother is making you feel that way, you can't get your mom out of your life, but you can say, Mom, we're going to change the subject. You need to start switching the topics. You need to start having more faith in the good things and what could happen than playing out every single scary, horrible scenario that could happen. Another thing that I want to share with you guys, I've had so many different fears that have come up, and this really reminded me of when I would help girls get ready to compete. So they would always be talking about, and I had these same exact fears. They'd always be talking about getting on stage, right? And the number one fear for a lot of people is not only getting on stage, but getting on stage in a bikini. So instead of thinking about all the great things that they're going to be in shape, they're going to feel good, they're going to have people cheer them on, it's going to be, this great accomplishment and goal, the first thing they would ask me when they'd step in my studio was, oh my God, what if I fall on my face? Do people fall on their face? What if, what's going to happen? What if all of these thoughts that they just fear, 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 they're just immediately drifting to fear instead of looking at what could happen. What good could come out of it? So it's about having more faith on the other side of what could happen instead of, immediately planting every single scenario that could go wrong. And no matter what happens, it's a beautiful lesson that you were meant to experience. So I want to talk a little bit more about vulnerability because I've been, as I'm writing for the Bliss Project, I'm really studying a lot of different things. And I came across a woman from my friend Lindsay, who actually works with us at Busy Girl. Some of you might have gotten to interact with her. And if not, you'll get to interact with her in Chicago if you're going to be at a Day of Bliss. She's a really incredible person. And she actually introduced me to an author who's a researcher. So she's been a researcher on vulnerability and shame for like 12 years. So she introduced me to Brene Brown. If you don't know who that is, I would definitely look her up and get her book. She's awesome. But she talks a lot about vulnerability. And I just watched a speech with her. She's got an awesome TED Talk too that you guys should watch. And vulnerability is one of fear's allies, and it's usually attached to being weak to many people. The idea of vulnerability is attached to being weak. But when we look further, we can actually see that vulnerability and fear play an important role for growing as a person. So, Brene Brown says vulnerability is, yes, it's the birthplace of comparison. It's the birthplace of shame. It's the birthplace of failure, right? Because we're doing things that we're not good at. We're doing things that we're not used to. We're doing things that we know we could get judged on. But the other beautiful side of vulnerability is that it's the birthplace of happiness, innovation, contentment, joy, creativity. Without being vulnerable, we're never going to express that really important side of us that we're meant to express, that piece that's written on our heart that we're meant to share with the world, that piece that is unique only to you, only to you. So no matter who you are on this webinar, you have something so incredibly special that only you can offer the world. And some of you might be sitting there saying, no way, I'll never be this, I'll never be that. But you truly have it. You have it written in your heart. There was not one of us that was not created without it. The thing is that we've just covered it up so much, or we've listened to stories that people have told us, or we've listened to different ideas of what people think is perfect. So we really need to start stripping the layers, uncovering those things. And I'll tell you that sticking your big toe in to really experience part of what's on the other side of fear is a huge part of that. It's a huge part of the uncovering and being vulnerable and expressing yourself and letting people, see who you are. So you can't have any of these things without it. You can't have creativity. You can't have the innovation like we were talking about. So when you feel like you're being vulnerable, you feel fearful because you're opening up a part of who you really are. And it's typically a part that we've worked really, really hard to keep protected in private, a part that we only show to people that we love. When you're vulnerable, typically you're stepping into something that you've never done before. You're shedding kind of like a social mask. So, it's that mask that you wear in public that that you're safe with. You can be agreeable. You can, just act as that person that is likable, that everybody likes. And it really allows you when, you're not sharing that part of you to fly under the radar, to stay safe. But nothing good happens in the safe zone, right? Nothing good ever happens in the safe zone. So we tend to keep that hidden so that we don't get judged. But in order to get to our goals, guess what we have to ditch? Yep, just what you didn't want to hear. You have to ditch safety, and you have to get really friendly with your fear. So that's scary. So you have to get comfy with showing the world your work. You have to get comfy with whatever, your talent is, whether it's writing, your thoughts, your ideas, your leadership, your music, your hard work. And it's going to be sloppy at first. People are totally going to judge you, and that's okay. That is part of this. You don't have to do it all at once. You just kind of need to work backwards and start seeing where you can take some baby leaps of faith. Start looking at that big goal and start seeing where, like I said, you can just stick that big toe in. You can. I like to use the example of when I wanted to be a trainer and I was scared to death. You guys, I was scared to death. I never finished anything in my life. I was a habitual quitter. I was scared of everything. I was literally mortified. Like, I think I would rather choose jumping out of an airplane without a parachute on than speaking in front of people or doing something like I'm doing right now. Because it feels like you are bearing your soul. It feels like you just stepped in front of the world's largest audience with no pants on, and that is scary. So it's about showing parts of you, and what you feel, your talents for the world are, or just going to that place where you feel fear and dipping your toe in. So for me, back to the trainer thing, when I wanted to be a trainer, like I said, it was so incredibly scary. I just started basically training my friends. I said, hey, are you cool with me training you? Can we go to the gym? Would you ever try this online program and just refer people to it for me? And the more that I did that, the more I started feeling really comfortable. I started getting some feedback, and some was good, some was bad. And honestly, the feedback that was most useful was kind of the negative feedback. It's kind of the stuff that, and when I say negative, you know, it's just the stuff that you can learn from, because I didn't want to hear from the people that love me how much they loved it, right? That's not the good feedback that you need. So if you're getting criticism from anywhere, just take it as a grain of salt. If it's feedback that you can learn from, awesome, take it, learn from it. That's why you're putting yourself out there. If it's feedback from a critic, we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, that doesn't matter, don't take it, delete it, get rid of it, erase, because there's going to be so much of that in your life, right? There's so much of it every single day that we can choose to say, we choose to take pieces of it, stick it in our heart, choose to take other pieces, throw it away. And totally, that's just how life is. That's just how it's going to go, because we cannot control everything that's going on around us. So basically, what I want you to do, I have some homework for you. We're not done yet, but I have a little piece of homework for you. What are some things that you could do to kind of just stick your big toe in the water? I want you to take 1 second, and I'm sure that most of you have an idea right now. The thing that I found with people who have goals, God bless all of you because I love you, the people who have goals, is that they know what their next step is, but fear is typically stopping them. A lot of people say, I don't know how to get there. I don't know the how. I don't have the resources. You know that you can ask. You know that you can figure it out. You know that you could barter for resources. You know that you could read a book. It's this thing called Google. It's pretty awesome. Tells you everything. I know it all the time. Whenever I think that I don't, I can't, like I said, that's when I know that I must. That's something that's my own block. That's where my fear is sitting. That's where I know I have to go pick up that fear and look underneath it, because my answer is waiting right there. My next key to the next door in this journey is waiting right there. So write that down. How can you just start getting friendly with your fear? We don't need to go up to it and hug it and give it a big bear hug. We can just shake its hand and say, hey, I know you're here. We're going to get to know each other. Here's the first way I'm going to do it. So another thing is proclaim your goals. This is something that I want you guys to do. Another little piece of your homework, because you know that I love inspiration, I love motivation, but if I don't give you tangible takeaways and things to implement right away, then we are not doing the work. We're not doing the transformational work that's going to get you there. So proclaim it. Did you know that almost 50% people are almost 50% more likely to reach their goals if they write down your goals, and you proclaim it. So I'm kind of crazy. I have written, and I like my crazy. I've written my goals with lipstick on my mirror. I've written my goals on vision boards. I write them on my phone. I have them, as wallpaper everywhere, because I don't want to forget when things get hard. I don't want to forget when it just seems easier to throw in the towel. I don't want to forget when cocktails sound way better than going after my dreams. I don't want to forget. I always want to remember that there's a bigger payoff, there's a bigger reason that we're here. So another thing is you got to find your fearless power posse. So if you're sitting there going, I don't have anybody yet, you know that you can go on the Busy Girl Healthy Life page and find people. You can come to the Bliss Project. You can come to a day of bliss. That Facebook page in and of itself is simply amazing. My God, I want all of you as my best friends. You can join the Busybodies monthly online program. That's huge. I mean, I just had a coaching call with all the girls last night and it was awesome. I mean, it's awesome to know that we're all going through the same thing together and we're all pushing each other towards our goals, and to know that this is so much bigger than us. This is, when you proclaim your goals and you share your light with people, it's giving them permission to do the same thing. It's so much more than just about you and your goals. It's about helping other people reach their goals. And that's where the true fulfillment comes. So, what I want to talk about here is once you start dipping your toe in and you start going after your goals and you start taking those steps, right? That's a beautiful thing. That's a great place to be. But what will people say? This is the scary part. This is where fear comes back in, right? We just dealt with fear, trying to dip our toe in. We got past that. Well, now we're changing. Now we're changing our life. We're changing our choices. So, what are people going to say now? When we start getting brave, we open the door to critics. This is another Brene Brown thing. This just rocked my world. I absolutely loved it because I will tell you, when I started getting myself out there, whether it was through these webinars, whether it was through competing, whether it was just through my daily posts on Facebook, everybody has an opinion and everybody wants to share it. And I value your opinions if you're in there with me, if you're out there sharing these thoughts and trying to put good energy out there, and if you're out trying to change the world, and if you're out trying to change people's minds, I value your input. I value what you have to say. I will take it. I will learn from it. I will apply it. But if you're just trying to put out negative vibes into the world or you're unhappy, I just don't care. So that's how you guys all need to be. That is literally how you need to be. So I want to read you something. This was in her speech. She used this from Theodore Roosevelt. It's a quote from him. And then I'm also going to just talk a little bit about it at the end. So I'm going to read this to you, so don't mind my eyes over here. So this is where we have to remember whose opinions really matter. So this is Theodore Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end of triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that at his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. I love that. And she went on to say, and this was so powerful for me. So Brene Brown said that, to this big audience of people who were all about creating for their jobs. They had to be creative. They had to put their souls out there. They had to really be vulnerable. She said, for those of you, because you're opening yourself up to the critics, the only people that matter to her, she said, if you are not in the arena getting your ass kicked with me, then I do not care about what you say. I love that. How freeing is that? If these people are not out there getting your butt absolutely whooped, because that's what happens. You get dragged through the dirt for a little while and the glory is on the other side. The feeling of achievement, the how valuable you become when you have this information and you go through these things to other people and to life, how important that is. So, I personally call those people couch spectators, because a lot of the people who are critics in our lives are sitting on the couch behind a computer, or they're sitting on the couch just talking about us, perhaps about what we're doing, while you're out there trying to do something, while you're out there trying to change something, while you're out there, fighting for something that you really believe in. And if you don't have that yet, you will. You will, because, the more that you do these different exercises and, you start to really show who you are, you're going to uncover yourself. You're going to find something that's so fiery you didn't even understand that you had it in you. And everybody has it. So it's about just, peeling back the layers to find that fire. So, put that light out there. You have to put it out there. And yeah, you're going to be judged, but believe me, it's going to be few and far between. And the things that you're going to find on the other side are far greater. I mean, they far outweigh it. So every time we challenge a fear, we learn a lesson and gain confidence. Sometimes it basically can just tell us what not to do again. So that can be the lesson. And sometimes it surprises us and we can absolutely love it. We can try something the first time and say, oh my God, I've been missing that from my life this whole time. And you find that that's something that you were meant to share. So wherever your fears are, typically that's where we're meant to dip that toe in and start looking, because behind that fear typically lies your next door to where your journey's supposed to go in your life. And so many people just push it down because they're scared of it and never, ever, ever find that fulfillment. So like I said, wherever fear is around a goal, it usually means, or it does mean you have to go there. So picture it as a wall, and every time that you see it pop up, whenever you think of something new, you have to slowly take it down brick by brick. You don't have to go busting through it. You can just kind of take one brick at a time, and if you feel like you want to bust through it, go for it. By all means, go for it. But just know that majority of the population is taking it down a brick at a time. So a huge thing for me is to weigh my fear. Whenever I feel a fear and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really, really huge, I don't think I can do this, I weigh it and then I play it out. I play it all the way through to the end. What could possibly happen? I think of all of the good things. I think of all of the bad things. I see all the good things, and it far outweighs any of the bad things that you could possibly play out. And typically, in the bad, I really don't view any of it as bad because it's all a lesson. People can recover from anything. I mean, I think if you watch any kind of media, you can understand people can recover from anything. It's all about the human spirit. So take it as a beautiful lesson. And I always have to say, does the fear feel heavier than it would feel when you come to the end of your life and say, what if? What if I would have leaped? What if I would have had faith? What could have I have been? What could have I have done? How different would the world be? Who would I have impacted? What ripple would I have started? What could you have changed for other people? I was just listening to another interview. Can you tell I'm in massive study mode I guess I'm always in massive study mode. I love it. But I was watching an interview that a fellow named Todd Herman was being interviewed, and an amazing person. You should look him up. And he talks about the positive power of negative preparation. Now he's got that's like a nice way to package it and put a bow on it. We do this a lot in our group, but just to say the positive power of negative preparation, wow, that's huge, because this is a super powerful tool, you guys. So write that down. It's called scripting your setbacks. So it's planning for when you fail, or it's planning for what happens when, right? So whether you're on a journey, maybe to get a promotion at work, or to start a new business, or to get that summer body that you want, just to feel fit and to feel confident in your own skin, you got to plan for the setbacks. You got to plan for write these questions down. What will I do when? What is your main question that comes up? What will I do when there's a ton of parties and everybody's drinking, and I know that this is absolutely the last I can handle of feeling this way? What will I do when? Have a good answer. Have a good answer and have some good tools ready, and really envision it. So how will I feel when? Write it down. Write down what your emotions you're going to go through. Be prepared for it. Who will I call when? Who's that support group going to be? What will I do? What will your other option be to do when? What will, your default be? What are you going to do? What was your old default? You got to switch that default. So, all of these different things, you need to have a plan. And for me, take your answers and meditate on them, envision them, make it so clear. Picture yourself doing them when these things arise. Another thing back to fitness, because it was one of the hardest things I've done was a fitness routine. I had no gymnastics background, no dance skills, nada, colada. I mean, people literally were like, "Really, you're doing that? That's kind of crazy, isn't it?" And I was like, "Absolutely, it's crazy." I couldn't picture all the bad things, but I ended up getting injured. Like I think it was on week 4 before I went out on stage, and I had talked to a lot of fitness competitors and just heard about what a lot of different athletes did, and they just, when they can't practice, they envision it. They envision whatever they're going to do. So I ran my routine through and through and through. I would take, a specific set of or amount of time throughout the day and just envision it so clearly. And when I went back to practice my routine again, I swear to you, I improved like 100%. I mean, I don't really know how to measure my improvements, but it felt like what I had done before didn't even compare to where I was. So the power of running through it not only applies physically, picture yourself going to the gym, picture yourself lifting that heavy weight, picture yourself nailing that speech, picture yourself getting what you want, picture yourself going through your day with ease. When you do this, you guys, it's just like practicing. Your body can't tell the difference between, reality and having that clear picture. That's why meditation is so powerful. So, the thing about um, just fear in general is knowing that it's really just a feeling that was put there for you to have as, like I said in the beginning, to have as a guide. It used to be there to protect us, and now we no longer need to be, running from buffalo in the wild. So, you know what I'm talking about. But basically, we don't need it to the extent of it anymore, and we don't need to buy into it and have it control us. It's really, really important that you guys just take the time to do these different tools. And I hope that you love these webinars. I would love to hear from you guys. Like I said, I love your feedback. I would love to hear from you guys on the Busy Girl Healthy Life Facebook page. Let that be your power posse. Let that be your community. We're going to keep it really positive there. We're going to keep it real. We're going to give you great feedback. We're going to try to get you to your goals. Join the Busybodies program if you feel like you want more support, and come to one of our events. I can't wait to see all of you ladies at a Day of Bliss in Chicago. And if you know anybody in Chicago, share this, because we're going to take you to a new level, and we're going to create bonds, like you've never had before. You need that tribe, and that's what we're doing here. So give me your comments, give me your feedback. I'd love to hear what you want me to talk about next and what's going on in the community. So thank you guys so much for being on tonight, and I will talk to you later. Mwah! Bye-bye.